do it. Let's do it. Put this in sources. I'd like to get some music going for today. I like myself some musics. Is it live? Let's hope that it's working. Modders, what is this? Hold on. I don't know what's happening. To build a positive live chat experience for you and your viewers, choose who can participate. Anyone who wants to can participate. I'm not picky. What I'm trying to do now is set up a screen that allows me to interact with this chart and allows you to see that interaction. And I think this is sufficient. Is this a journal, or is this, an astrology reading? Well, what's the difference? Can you see me? Let me see if I'm putting my face right there. That's probably good enough. So yeah, we've got a new moon time coming up. We know that because the sun and the moon are at the same place in the heavens. This is obviously me casting the bones or divining, and I am asking now that what I share is of use to those who watch, be they one, myself included, or all. It's a practice that I quite enjoy. Here we are, living on a planet that's, from our perspective, going to be directly opposite. So that means it would be right here in Cancer. That's where the Earth would be if the sun we're looking away from it. It would be exactly opposite. The Earth is always going to be exactly opposite the sun. So this suggests that the days are, of course, winter days, so not maybe particularly lengthy, given that this is the sort of like beginning of winter time in the northern hemisphere. At least we've got the moon invisible as well, because it's so close to the sun. She's not able to bounce back any of that radiant light. Just how it happens. So a new moon time is a time for mystery, a time for letting go. At least in the nighttime. In the daytime, you still got to do what you got to do. And if it's in Capricorn, there's some achievement that wants to happen. That's where the sun is. The sun being in Capricorn, I think, is fine. It's close enough to Sag, which is fiery, and of course we're moving into winter territory, but I don't think the sun in Capricorn is problematic. Once it starts to get into Aquarius over here, then the sun is said to start to develop some issues, particularly around, if I was going to say what that issue is it's like a hero complex. I think starts to develop in a sun and Aquarius energy, the archetype of wanting to serve others, but like for altruistic purposes. I think the Aquarius sun needs to realize, hey, I'm doing this for myself. Like, I'm serving others for myself. Whereas a Leo is like, I'm serving myself for myself, and I'm sharing that warmth with others. The sun in Leo is doing the sun better than the sun in Aquarius, allegedly. But again, these are just stories to challenge you. I don't want. There's sun and Aquarius people are very intelligent generally, but they sort of shuck any sort of kind of boundary that doesn't suit their fancy. Anyways, it's good that we're talking about Aquarius, because Saturn in Aquarius is in charge of Capricorn, according to the traditional system. So if this is the king, or I call her the queen, though since she's in the masculine Aquarius sign, she's probably a little bit more masculine at this time. Capricorn's a little more feminine, I would say, because it's Earth. But this like very cold, calculated, carrying out these systems to make sure you get through winter. This is the way it's done. This is how things are done. This is what's right. This is what's not allowed. Like, that kind of energy is pretty strong. That a degree that's, yeah, 21 degrees. That's where my ascendant is in Virgo. But anyways, we're here to discuss this sun-moon placement. Now, what I like about this to say something positive is that there's a constructive finding the boundaries, finding the limits, doing what needs to be done kind of an energy. For me, this is my health chart. So it says doing what needs to be done for my long-term health, for my sustained maintenance, for my work routine. That's sort of where my focus is. Wherever Aquarius is for you is where that would work for you. But anyways, the sun here shining its light out, the moon invisible, so sort of kind of surrendering to that life force, to that ever-changing life, and then starting a new adventure. Because the moon is good for like a quick adventure compared to the sun. It takes 365 days for the sun, whereas the moon, it makes a new moon cycle roughly once a month. So yeah, a new project perhaps. So this sun and moon ruled over by Saturn and Aquarius. So now the sun may be happy, neutral, doing its thing, achieving its achievements, climbing the mountain, if you will, because it's a mountain goat. The moon, on the other hand, really does not much care to be in Capricorn. Why? Well, because the moon here, the moon rules Cancer right here. So, because the moon rules Cancer, you've got it in the place opposite where it likes to be. Why? Because the moon has no choice but to reflect the sight. The moon has no light of its own. The moon must reflect back what it is given. So when you have the moon invisible in Capricorn, it's like I'm getting the image of like an emotional need that is being pushed away for the sake of achievement. I think that's a huge, 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 huge problem with our society is people just not integrating with their emotions and instead just doing something. And I find that is deeply problematic. Whereas the moon in Cancer, the emotion is going to get integrated. It's going to get felt through, whether it's a good, true, or beautiful emotion, or the inverse of that is maybe not something you can speak of, but at least there would be some sort of containment, I think, for the moon in Cancer's emotional state. I'm not saying that people with the moon in Cancer don't make mistakes or aren't prone to problems. I'm sure that they are, just like a person with a moon in Capricorn. This is about storytelling, and this moon in Capricorn needs to remember that emotions need to be integrated. Sometimes that means just witnessed, sometimes that they need to be held. So there's something around achievement. Now, that moon is pulling in the significations of Cancer, the sun is pulling in the significations of Leo as usual. So whatever these sections of your chart would kind of inform that. There's a little bit of injustice still hanging out, wrath and Cancer. For me, Lilith is in the place of my friends and networks and groups, and I definitely feel like it's kind of not fair. Not that I'm excited for that injustice wrath story to move into my like bad spirits house, but injustice is part of our experience. How do we integrate with that? I imagine it does require us to be serious about our emotions and to integrate them, and I think our world would be better if that happened. So that's my hope. So that's all there is to say about that. Saturn's in charge of Capricorn, so it's sort of the final stop here. And that means that not only is Pluto, Mercury, and Venus all bowing to that Saturn placement, also the sun and moon. So there's just a great deal going on in Capricorn. So my sister is expecting. So someone who's born under this sign would just be such an achievement, goal setting, go getter kind of a vibe, like trying to accomplish, trying to do what lasts. There's a lot of initiatory energy. There's some starting shit, hopefully good shit, hopefully shit that, well, I mean, I really do think it would be constructive. The story would have to be because Saturn is, the god of death is happy in Aquarius. It's happy to, man, if you talk to an Aquarius, they love to tell you about boundaries. They just love the boundaries. They love the limitations. They like, it's really strange. There's some really great managerial tendencies coming from Aquarius, honestly. So we've got the Sun Moon conjunction in Capricorn, which is, kind of ouchy because of the moon, but the sun is fine. And then Venus is far enough away so you'll be able to see her. She'll probably look really beautiful. because the sun will just dip, and then you'll be able to see this beautiful star and Mercury. I mean, they're in really lovely positions, honestly. I think because they're far enough away that you should be able to glimpse them, hopefully with the naked eye, depending on the environment that you're in. I don't quote me on that, but under the beams of the sun is traditionally like 10 degrees, so this is 1621. Mercury's a finicky planet because it's so close to the sun, so you don't always get to see it with the naked eye because there's such a short window whenever you're able to do it. But I think maybe during this period, there's a love and a message that are distinct, perhaps, about achievement and about what lasts. And if I was to say what those are, integrate love and integrate like authentic communication whenever you're whenever you're going for something, whenever you're trying to achieve something, like please integrate those things. What good is all the money in the world if you don't have like a beautiful community in which to facilitate the exchanging of that resource? There needs to be integration from the top to the bottom. Now, Pluto here, you wouldn't be able to see Pluto with your naked eye. You'd have to get a telescope. But the fact that it's also in Capricorn and it's shit. It's Pluto moves real slow. So whatever the Capricorn part of your chart is, like really, I know that it's moving slow, but just remember that like it's precious. It's precious. Like achieve what you can achieve while you can achieve it because you won't always be able to because of the ever changing nature. I feel like for me there's a sense of like, Caleb, be fucking creative. Have sex. Have fun. Try to do things that bring you joy. Like fucking fight for that. Now, hope I don't think that once Pluto moves out of Aquarius there won't be fun and things accessible to me, but this is a really deep, 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 deep kind of thing that maybe I can just use it as inspiration to really get the details right, to really just try to maximize. Like for instance, this video, like how can I do this better? Even if it is just for me to escape into symbols and no one else listens to it. That's fine. That's fine. It kind of works for me to think about my place in the universe and to be creative and to think about stories and think about their relationships. So speaking of that, relationships. Now, this is the Sun Moon conjunction. There's a square, which means kind of like a tug of war energy, having to balance because they both want to do slightly different things. You've got Jupiter just moving into Aries, so we've moved out of Jupiter in Pisces. It won't be there again for 12 years. It's it's a planet of pushing forward. I think Mark Hamill has this placement, so like this Luke Skywalker, like going into the on the hero's journey, like the young hero begins his quest, like Luke Skywalker vibes. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out there and do it. So that go out there and do it, and it's happening now, whether I wanted to or not, sort of an energy with this. But I need to do what's responsible and what society thinks. It's like like how do I find those two balances? For me, it's something about my creativity and my grief, my serving others, taxes. It's just finding that like tug of war energy, um, rolling with it. That's the only aspect that the big luminaries are making, and really the moon is kind of invisible anyways at this point. So still there, still absolutely there, but just something you can't see. So I don't. Sometimes it's a surrendering thing, especially with the moon in Capricorn. Jesus, it's just like let go, just like do nothing, just like completely stop at night, just like rest. Rest when you need to fucking rest. My friend was talking about how she's just pushing herself too hard, and I'm like, dude, I have the moon in Taurus. I take my rest. um, so yeah, just being a rambling storyteller over here. That's the only thing there. Now, these other planets are getting a little boost from Uranus. That Uranus square, Saturn square, has just been doing us good during this pandemic. It's kind of a fun way of putting this COVID adventure into like chunks, trying to segue and create uh, timelines, and it's sort of like we're all one species, but there's different um, there's different generations of humans, right? So millennials, Gen Xers, baby boomers, whatever it is, like those are arbitrary in some ways because there's not like a fine line that someone really is or isn't. It's the same as a zodiac sign. Like someone is, it's fictional, but it's a way of understanding and making sense and asking questions and telling stories, which is part of our heritage. And sometimes I question whether it's worthwhile or if it's something that should be done. But anyways, it's happening. So okay, what have we discussed? Mars and Gemini, unaspected. Thank God. We don't want him to do anything more than he's doing now. Angry Mars. I guess it could be a she, but it's in Gemini, and I think it's definitely more masculine in its current presentation. An angry warrior, just sort of backtracking. Like the angry warrior doesn't want to have to retreat. It doesn't, but it's a form of retreating into learning something. It's retreating into figuring out how to share messages in a better way. Um, this is my career. It's just back and forth, like trying to figure out what to do, what not to do, how to make a living, how can I show up in a way that's full of integrity. And yeah, I want to be useful, and I want to help, and I want to love, and I feel like there's battles to be waged, and fuck. Yeah. Anyways, so that's kind of unaspected Mars. That's good. That's Saturn Uranus square. I didn't really explain it. Whatever. Nobody watches these. If you're watching this, you're somebody. I'm just not a ton of people, so just it's not like I'm spending a ton of energy beforehand. Like astrology to me is kind of nonsense, but I love it and it can be useful. I don't know. I think that's the Mars and Gemini just being like fuck everything, like just saying shit. And then Saturn is, yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying that what I'm sharing right now is skillful or really desirable, or I mean maybe I'm just kind of embodying this Moon and Capricorn stuff, which is like fuck it, fuck that, fuck this, like just get it done, just do it. Like I but humans have done crazy amazing things. Like I'm not trying to shit on that ingenuity and like the cool things that societies have done and like modern healthcare. We do seem to be trying to adapt to this insanely violent but wonderful, but we come and we go, we live and we die. Just what the fuck? It's a gnarly place. It's a gnarly place. So what can I do to accept it, to bow down to God, if you will, like the limitations of this structure, to surrender to it? How can I escape to heaven? Well, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven was at hand. But we're in wintertime. It's beginning. It's going to be really icy here, and then slightly starting to lessen up. And then it's spring. All the seasons, all life, all patterns, all stories. Do you see the slump of my posture? It's like, ugh. I can fix that though. I can fix it. I'm listening to some music that should be royalty free, doing some stretching. Dancing kind of helps. Just moving. I don't know why it helps, but it does. It does. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Do you need an astrologer? What would benefit you? Love, light, and the snake's bite.